So, in this video, I want to watch and analyze this new special program. There is a ton of things to talk about, but since my channel only focuses on the lore, that's what I'm going to talk about here. I'll first talk about the new trailer, and then I'll try to condense my thoughts about the rest of the special program. I was honestly amazed by all that was revealed here, and I'm very excited for the new update. Please keep in mind, however, that this was released not so long ago, and this is more like my first impressions than a full-fledged video about the lore, so maybe I'll miss some things in this analysis, since I mostly say things that just come to mind as I watch the trailer and so on. But right now, let's take a look at the trailer.
This is where our spaceship landed when
So actually, first I want to talk about how this version is called Luna 1, and the other versions will continue by adding numbers to this name, which means that the version names reference the moon, and since there are 8 lunar phases, I wonder if there will be 8 Nod-Krai versions. Well, normally there is 9 versions per cycle, so maybe this time it will be a bit different, but that's just a speculation. So right now, at the beginning, we learned that this is where we supposedly landed when we first arrived on Teyvat with our sibling. This probably refers to some place in Nod-Krai, but we could also just be talking about some other place. Hoyo really likes to do this thing, where they focus us by showing us a completely unrelated visual to the lines that are spoken, so this could also be that case.
Lumine and I first arrived
Anyway, I don't think that this tombstone that was shown right here has any connection to the spaceship.
in Teyvat. All I remember is Lumine waking
Let me talk about how our sibling woke us up and we tried to leave Teyvat together. Just to summarize the timeline, when we first arrived on Teyvat with our sibling woke up first, long before us, and lived in Khaenri'ah for some time, until the cataclysm. As it was starting, our sibling met Derediv, who gave him our key of the spaceship, and so our sibling thought that we awakened from our sleep, and they went to find us. But once they did, we were still asleep, so our sibling decided to wake us up, and together we tried to escape Teyvat before being stopped by the ruler of space. This lighthouse right here is probably the same lighthouse from the legends about the Lightkeepers from the Long Night's Oath artifact set, so we know that the Lightkeepers used to guard this lighthouse and have a long history of fighting the Wild Hand. But here it seems really worn down and partially destroyed, so I wonder what's the current state of the Lightkeepers. Maybe Flint is the last one that currently guards the lighthouse. We know that the grave that was shown before is connected to someone who seemed to be his ancestor, so maybe that's why he's still guarding it to this day.
This is where our spaceship landed when Lumine and I first arrived in Teyvat. All I remember is Lumine waking me up and us leaving the ship.
The Wild Hunt came. It passed through all the graves.
Lighthouse, hope, everlasting night.
Then we see these big creepy hands that interestingly seem to have the exact same color as the Flint's lantern when the Wild Hunt is nearby, so maybe there is some connection. Also, I suspect that these hands belong to an entity that could be similar to Gosoitoth that we fought in Natlan. There, Gosoitoth was basically the root of the abyssal attacks on Natlan, so I wonder if these hands are something similar but for Nod-Krai. We also hear this weird voice speaking in some language that I don't recognize right now, which reminds me of how something spoken by Gosoitoth were censored and we could only barely hear them. Although this is a bit different, because this is an entirely different language, and I don't think we've seen that in the game before. But it should be connected to the Abyss.
Look upon my flame. Return to your graves.
When Flint says return to your graves and forever rest in peace, I think about the possibility that these Wild Hunt enemies could be the dead Lightkeepers, and maybe the Abyss is using their corpses.
And forever rest in peace. Be silent. To dust. The long sleep beckons. Viewing the world through human eyes is like looking.
Then Flint talks about viewing the world through human eyes. Maybe this means that he himself is not human. Hard to say right now, but he definitely has these ghostly themes around him, so that could be something that will be explored in the Archon quests.
Into a kaleidoscope. It is so complex and yet so beautiful.
Ad Astra Abyssos.
So here we see Sandrone at the Adventurers Guild in Nasha Town. Quite surprising, but also not so much, since it was speculated for a long time that she may have even been the one who started the Adventurers Guild in the first place. It's also said that she was probably the one behind Catherine's creation, and here she is where we would normally expect Catherine to be. But later in the special program, there is a scene where they show that Catherine is normally here in Nod-Krai as usual, so this is probably some sort of special scene in the Archon quest. It seems like Sandrone only wanted to welcome us for some reason. By the way, I still believe that she is Meren Guillotine from the Narsekreuz Ordo World Quest series.
Welcome to Nod-Krai, Dominion of the Fatui.
Please, here you go. And if you ever need anything else, don't forget to make the great Lord Sun.
Dori is here too, and it's really no surprise since she told us that she will be here in the Traveler's Tales. She also knows Alice, she is her supplier, and maybe it's through her that we will get to finally meet Alice later in the story.
Obey your first port of call.
Then there is Nefre, who is the owner of the Curatorium of Secrets and a partner with Yahoda, who should be a bounty hunter if I remember correctly. The Curatorium of Secrets is a nurture party in Nod-Krai, even though the whole place seems to be really tense, so maybe we'll try to get them to our side in the story. It seems like this organization is focused on collecting intelligence, and Nefre seems to know many stories about the moons and stuff, so she's probably very knowledgeable on ancient secrets.
Interesting. Sincere apologies. I am unable to come down and greet you at the present moment. I will have to converse from up here.
Do either of you need my help with anything? Anything at all? After all,
Then there is Aino, nothing much to say about her lore-wise, and she is the one who constructed a canon that is shown later in the trailer. She is also the one who reconstructed Inefa, so together they formed the Klinkklek Kramkake craft shop.
I'm the head of this household. Chew on this. Rush attack!
Kuvaki. It is a unique element.
Kuvaki seems to be another primordial power, similar to Phlogiston, but is described as the power of the Light Ram, so I really do wonder what's the connection between Phlogiston and this power of Nod-Krai. It's probably more related to the moon, and it seems to be the power that is in the Moon Wheels, which is an old version of the Vision that some characters in Nod-Krai seem to have. I say some characters because, for example, Flint and Lauma have one, but Aino has a regular vision. In the past, they served as a power source, but also as a means of communication between the moons and their followers. They were created by the Primordial One together with the 3 moons in the past, so they can be basically described as a prototype for visions.
Mental force found only in Nod-Krai, or rather, a pure, primordial form of elemental energy.
They say that each of their moon chanters.
These moon chanters seem pretty interesting. We know that Lauma has this title, and if they are indeed able to see the true past, as is said right here, it could mean many things. It could mean that they are able to see even the events before the Great War of Vengeance that were forbidden by the Heavenly Principles, or it could even mean that they see past the Irminsul manipulation, which means that they could know about things such as Great Lord Ruka Devata or even Scaramouche.
Has had access to an ancient relic that lets them see the true past.
I am still trying to piece together the many fragments of our past. It is a story not only.
Now we see the mention of the Frostmoon Scions, which Lauma is a part of, and Hyperborea. Hyperborea was one of the first, if not the first, human civilizations on Teyvat, and the Frostmoon Scions are their distant descendants. Hyperborea was known as the Golden City, and it was eventually destroyed by a celestial nail that fell from the sky. It was used by the Heavenly Principles to destroy the ambitions of the Voyager and the First Angel, who fell in love and plotted a rebellion against Celestia there.
Of the Frostmoon Scions, but also of the moons themselves. We Frostmoon Scions are the last descendants of the ancient golden realm of Hyperborea. Follow me and bask in the soft light of the moon. Forest, protect us. For the everlasting forest. It is also said that when the moons shattered, most of their fragments rained down upon this land like stardust. Yet, success
The giant pillar really reminds me of the celestial nails that the Heavenly Principles cast down after the Great War of Vengeance was over, and since we know that the ancient civilization of Hyperborea was destroyed by a celestial nail, I wonder if this is that nail. It doesn't really look like the other nails, though it's still pretty similar, and it could be a different version of the celestial nail.
Generations of Frost Moon Scions have always passed down a prophecy that one day the moon goddess would return.
So let's quickly summarize the moon lore. Well, when Teyvat was originally born alongside the Dragon King Nibelung, he was the ruler of this planet. He then rose the 3 moons from the earth, and when he left Teyvat to seek the worlds beyond, he left these 3 moons in charge. But we know from the ancient dragons that in Nibelung's absence they were silent. Once the Primordial One came and defeated the 7 dragon sovereigns in Nibelung's absence, the 3 moons submitted themselves to this new ruler. It's unclear why they did this. Maybe they truly betrayed the dragons, maybe they had some other reason that could be connected to Nibelung and him returning with the forbidden knowledge. The 3 moons were originally called the Eternal Moon, Iridescent Moon, and the Frost Moon, or Arya, Sonnet, and Canon, but of these 3 moon sisters, only one pale corpse now remains in the night sky, since 2 of them were killed in an unknown catastrophe.
That prophecy did indeed come to pass, though not quite.
Here they talked about the prophecy that the moon goddess would return, obviously hinting at Columbina. It's unclear if Columbina is indeed one of the moon sisters, or if she was just going to be one in the past, but couldn't for some reason. Anyway, it's true that the Frost Moon Scions are now worshipping her as their moon goddess, so she is very likely connected to the Frost Moon, which is the last of the 3 moons. They also mentioned the name Kutar later in the special program, so maybe that's Columbina's true name. Columbina was the third of the Fatui Harbingers, but in this special program, we learned that she decided to leave the Fatui and return to Nod-Krai as the Moon Maiden. It seems like she wants to rise as the new moon, and everything in Nod-Krai seems to revolve around this new moon rising, although we don't know what exactly that means just yet. If she becomes one with the moon and thus it becomes active again, if an entire new moon will appear in the sky, or if she will just rule over the powers of the existing moon. Hard to say.
Still wish to return to the moon that belongs to me.
The Fatui.
Then there is the Fatui, who built a huge base on what are supposedly the ancient moon remnants, and seem to want to harness its power. That's probably also the reason why they want to retrieve Columbina, most likely to control the power of the moon.
They built their research facility on top of the remnant over on Paha Isle, but they've had their sights set on the one here, too.
The sacred relic of the Frost
This sacred relic could refer to the ancient moon remnants, otherwise I don't know what it could be.
Moon Scions. It's been stolen.
Today's encounter is merely a courtesy call, a friendly warning, if you will. I strongly advise you not to stand in the Fatui's way.
The Frost Moon Scions will never hand over.
We know that the Fatui have been trying to take control of Nod-Krai for a long time now, even in the distant past with the Doctor, as is described in the artifact set lore, and now it seems like Sandrone is the one trying to take control of Nod-Krai.
Anything to the Fatui. With your blood, we shall draw an inviolable line in the snow.
No irregularities detected in the duct. You're wrong. Just because Nod-Krai lacks a ruler at present, that does not mean it should not be ruled. We Fatui are simply establishing a new order.
Kuvaki ammunition fully loaded. Assessing risk level maximum.
The Curatorium of Secrets has always striven to abide by a policy of strict neutrality. We do not take sides with any faction in Nod-Krai.
Moon goddess, please save us!
I suspect your spaceship.
Then we hear Columbina here talking about our spaceship and how it was intentionally hidden away, so it really seems like Columbina will be on our side and very friendly towards us, as is shown even later in the special program. I don't know if someone from the Fatui hid our spaceship or if it was some other entity like the Shades of the Heavenly Principles.
Has been intentionally hidden away.
Are you wondering?
I don't think that our sibling is siding with the Fatui. As I mentioned even in my previous videos, the Abyss Order didn't side with the Fatui until now, even though they share similar goals. This may actually change, even though I still don't think so, but it would indeed make some sense, thanks to their shared goals. Also, seeing our sibling here really surprised me, since it wasn't so long since we last saw them, but it could also be some sort of illusion created by the Wild Hunt or something.
If your sister might be in cahoots with the Fatui?
I'm not asking you to trust me. Just don't try and stop me. Take care. The moon.
Now Columbina says that the moon can be treacherous, maybe referring to the betrayal of the Dragon King Nibelung, but it's still weird to see her say that since she's supposed to be the moon, probably. But even in the lyrics of the main theme at the end, there are some mentions of a false moonlight and so on, so that will probably also play an important role in the story. I actually really do recommend checking out the lyrics of the main theme at the end, even the developers said this time that they are relevant to the story of Nod-Krai, and that they will make more sense as the story unfolds. But yeah, that's it for the trailer.
Can be treacherous.
Now I just wanted to mention the Imaginary Theater and the new game mode. It could surprisingly be connected to the lore, since the sphere that they show right here is really similar to the one Venti gave us after finishing the Paralogism Archon quest, and since it seems to be a gift given to us by the Hexen Circle, it would be really interesting if it somehow connects the story to the new game mode. Also, the Imaginary Theater is getting an update, and it seems like we can now collect Arcanas that should have their own lore as well, so that seems fun. I expect some lore about the Hexen Circle there, but we could also see some Arcanas with, for example, the Caribbean, so who knows. But that will be all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I didn't really add anything super new to this, but I still hope that maybe you learned something new about the lore. But with that said, take care and I see you in the next one.